Pittsburgh in the early 1900s was the Silicon Valley of the United States. There was a lot of young, rich, upcoming entrepreneurs that created these industries. It must have been an extremely exciting place to be at the time, like it is right now. We created the industrial world 130 years ago, and now we're really pushing the robotics industry.
How is Pittsburgh's industrial past connected with its high-tech present and future? There's probably no better place to explore this than at the ARM Institute inside of the old Mill 19 here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We're going to be sitting down with Jay Douglas, COO of the ARM Institute. Let's dive in. Jay, good to chat with you again.
Good to see you again.
It's literally been almost exactly 3 years since you and I last spoke. And it's good to see you still as the COO here at ARM Institute.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
Hey, I love to hear that, and I think it's appropriate that this time we're doing this conversation here at the ARM Institute in Pittsburgh, inside of Mill 19. Describe the setting, where we are, the historical context across Mill 19, because I think that's an important piece of really connecting where Pittsburgh has been to where Pittsburgh is now.
So we're within the city limits of Pittsburgh. We're in a building that is built underneath the superstructure of a 1,400 foot long mill building that was constructed in 1940.
Yeah.
We are on the site of the original Jones and Laughlin Steel Company that was founded on this location in 1883. The original purpose of this building that we are underneath, it was storing ammunition.
Okay.
Back in that time, it was very difficult to bomb a building that was at the bend of a river in between two hills. Technology being what it was at the time. After the Second World War, the building eventually became a rolling mill and was decommissioned about 30 years ago and sat idle for a long time. And then when we won our contract and had some rent money, they started building this building that we're in right now, 3 stories, a little over 100,000 square feet. We share the facility with Carnegie Mellon University and a few other organizations. We're on the first floor of the building, which is our robotics lab, and this is where we do our work.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you have like some family ties.
Well, yeah,
to
I've
this
got an
area
interesting
as well.
connection. My grandfather, who passed away in 1993, who I knew quite well, he was 101.
Wow.
He knew his uncle quite well, who worked here. Robert Patterson Douglas was born in 1840 in western Pennsylvania. He served in the Civil War under the command of Captain George Laughlin, who is the Laughlin of Jones and Laughlin. And when Laughlin founded the steel company with his partner Jones, they hired my great uncle as the first head of the workforce. He worked here for about 24 years, supervising the workforce on this location. So here we are, 140 years later.
Yeah, like century and a half later.
Yeah.
And to think you were about to just bypass that part of the story there.
Well,
That's incredible.
it's a connection that I actually didn't know I had until a few years ago.
Oh, interesting.
My sister did some of the ancestry stuff and
Very cool.
found Uncle Pat. But he passed away in 1917, I believe. So no, it's a cool story. Here we are, and resurrected the place. On top of the superstructures, the largest sloped solar array in North America. So the building has a lot of green aspects to it. And so it's a pretty cool place. If you ever get here, you should just come and take a look.
Yeah.
We'll show you around inside, but if not, the outside's pretty spectacular.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, this is even for for someone that's not familiar with this industry, I mean, you'll see that this place is very photogenic. It's a sight to be seen right out of the gate.
We're right on the river. We're less than 3 miles from downtown Pittsburgh.
Well, since it's been a few years since we spoke, I mean, obviously a lot has changed over 140 years, but I feel like a lot has changed over just the past 3 years as well. Like, this facility has really come a long way in between now and then. Correct? Can you share a little bit about that?
Right. So 2.5 years ago, we participated in a bid with several other organizations in southwestern Pennsylvania into the Build Back Better program, and we won, along with several other partners, a grant. And our piece of it is to create what we're sitting in right now, which is what we call the Robotics Manufacturing Hub. Mm-hmm. The mission of the Robotics Manufacturing Hub is to work with small manufacturers in the southwestern Pennsylvania region to help them de-risk the adoption of robotics. Mm-hmm. So we've got, we started from a standing start 2.5 years ago. It took us a little while, staff up, get the equipment, build out the facility. But so far, we've run close to 40 programs through here helping small manufacturers. We've got, give or take, a dozen robots all around us right now from, I think, 6, maybe 7 different manufacturers. We're a very eclectic operation, from cobots to much heavier robots. I think our biggest is a 180. But no, it's we got a lot going on. We've run a lot of really interesting projects, and we've had a lot of impact for some of the smaller companies in southwestern Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and like you said, we're here at the Robotics Manufacturing Hub. But I think an appropriate question would be, can you like summarize what the ARM Institute's mission is? Let's say as if we're having a drink with one another,
sure,
right?
Well,
and I think your comment about de-risking robots for like small to mid-sized manufacturers, that's one of the first things that comes to my mind when I think
well, that's
about
one thing that we do, is the de-risking project here in the Robotics Manufacturing Hub. But we were created 8 years ago. Our 8th anniversary was 2 weeks ago. And the mission at the beginning, and still of the core business, is to assist the increasing competitiveness of U.S. manufacturing, and thereby helping secure a stronger position of national security by having a stronger manufacturing base in the United States, and do that through the use of robotics. So we've been at that for 8 years now. We also pursue that mission in a project sort of way. We started by creating an ecosystem, a membership, which now totals over 450 companies, universities, large companies, small companies, startups. And we publish problem statements out to our membership. We invite them to form teams and give us a proposal to work on those problem statements. And at the end of the project is typically $500,000 for 12 months. At the end of the project, the result is shared with all other members of the consortium. That is our tech transition strategy to improve U.S. manufacturing competitiveness. To date, we've run just over 150 of those projects. And we've got close to 100 examples of transition. So we're really proud of what we've done in our core business. So then a few years later, we won this bid for the RMH. The RMH, Robotics Manufacturing Hub, is specifically for the 11 county region in southwestern Pennsylvania. Our core business, if you will, we work nationally. We've got members north, south, east, west, and we do some specific projects directly for the DoD.
So maybe one way to think about it is the Robotics Manufacturing Hub here in Pittsburgh and southwestern Pennsylvania. This is just a very tangible subset of your overall mission.
Exactly. It was a very nice fit, and it enabled us to, most of the projects that we work on with our core funding, the original business, the work is done at our members' locations.
Sure.
All over the United States.
Yeah.
This gave us a chance to staff up and stock up on robots and get things going right here in our home base.
Yeah.
So it's been really, really great for us.
Well, let's go through maybe some examples that illustrate both elements that we've been talking about today. We'll get to let's say the Robotics Manufacturing Hub, and I think you said around 40 programs you're involved in today. We'll get to that in a second, but let's go back, first to your 450 members that are part of the ARM Institute here, and you put out these problem statements. What motivates a company to get involved with that, right? Because what is the big benefit to these companies getting involved versus just doing it themselves in-house and saying, hey, we've got a problem statement, we're going to solve this. Why does someone say, we got to be a part of the ARM Institute and work on these, what sound like could be more collaborative projects?
Yeah, so there's a whole list of reasons, and fundamentally we operate a consortium which allows people to do different things. Mm-hmm. A typical project team for us might include Carnegie Mellon University's robotics operation, along with Lockheed Martin and 3 startup companies.
Okay.
Which is a really cool project team that you
kidding.
Wouldn't ever typically see in the economy. We've been able to create some really unique supply chain scenarios for doing work for the Department of Defense. Mm-hmm. Because of the nature of our pre-competitive consortium, you can have companies that would not be allowed to talk to each other,
sure,
work together. We had a series of projects in our early days for robots to build wiring harnesses, and we had a couple of aerospace companies collaborate on one of those. Mm-hmm. So that was a pretty cool thing. We can bring companies to bear on these problems that might not typically be looking at these kind of problems. Like we have FedEx. Mm-hmm. If you're into the logistics business, distribution business, they're a pretty cool partner to have on a project. Yeah. So we've been able to build some really unique kinds of project teams to do the work. Mm-hmm. That's one benefit to the ultimate customer with U.S. economy and the U.S. Department of Defense, but the companies love it too. Yeah. Because they get to meet each other, they get to work together, they get to expand their own individual ecosystems mm-hmm. by connecting into our ecosystem.
Yeah.
So that's been a great benefit. We've got 450 give or take members, and we're a very representative example of the technology economy. Mm-hmm. With the companies we have, manufacturers, robot arm companies, we've got the top research universities in the country in the field of robotics, and then we probably 150 companies in our startup category. Yeah. They're doing all kinds of cool stuff with robots, motion, vision, mobility, artificial intelligence, just across the board.
Well, I liked the word you used, which was pre-competitive. And you also described that the end customer in this case is the U.S. economy, right. The U.S. industrial base. Yeah. So when you put it in that context, it makes a lot more sense that, a Lockheed is going to partner with some startups right. and CMU and people that would maybe traditionally compete with one another right. are going to work together. Exactly.
So you want to know why would people do this? Number one is I think it's the networking. Yeah. Number two, we fund these projects. The money comes from our fund provided by the Department of Defense, and for smaller companies, they love that.
Yeah.
It's a great thing for them. At the end of the project, I don't want to get too down in the weeds, but sure. Our projects are targeted in the technology readiness level 4 to 7.
Okay.
So out of a 9-point scale, the end result isn't necessarily 100% complete yet. Mm-hmm. So we share with no licensing fee required across the consortium for continued development and R&D.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to take something and go straight into commercial use, there would be a licensing fee that would be payable to the project team. We don't participate in that. But that's a pretty unique tech transfer scenario that seems to work pretty well.
So what I'm hearing you say is you basically get this to a point where you haven't commercialized it yet, but you can license the technology. So that way, now that the whole team effort has got this, I don't know, we'll put it in Pittsburgh Steelers terms, right? The 20-yard line, right?
Yeah.
These different companies can take it across the goal line.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, let's go to the more localized examples as well. Here at the Robotics Manufacturing Hub, which you said started 2.5 years ago, you're already involved in 40 different programs. What does that look like? Can you share an example of one of those and how they kind of differ from the overall ARM model?
Right. So we're working with small manufacturers just in our region, 11 counties. So the challenge of a small manufacturer, at least the ones that we've more often seen, is that, in our core business, we're generally pushing the envelope. In the Robotics Manufacturing Hub, it probably looks like that to the small manufacturer. It probably looks like building the Starship Enterprise.
Yeah.
But to our engineers in here, it could be relatively simple.
Yeah.
We're generally not inventing new stuff here. We've invented some new end effectors, which has been a lot of fun for us. But to the small manufacturer, a guy might be 60 years old, he's been at it 20, 30 years, he knows he needs to do something. He's under an enormous amount of pressure because of his